Welcome to episode 6 of the East Toronto Happy Hour, season 1.
I'm Shane Little.
And I'm Jenny Simon.
And we are co-hosts of the EastTO Happy Hour podcast. We are realtors with the Riches Group, Remax Hallmark, and we live, breathe, and work in the East End. We want to introduce all of you to our awesome friends, business owners, and interesting people that we know and are going to get to know in the neighborhood.
And because it's happy hour, we've decided that we're going to partner with local breweries, coffee shops, so we can have a cocktail or a drink with our new friends to get to know them a little bit better.
While supporting local. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy this episode. So welcome to this episode of EastTO Happy Hour podcast. This week we have Marc Hull-Jacquin. He's the head of ShelterMovers, which is a national volunteer-powered charitable organization providing moving and storage services at no cost to women and children fleeing abuse. ShelterMovers is the only service of its kind in Canada. Today, they are powered by over 2,060 volunteers across Canada and operate in the GTA, Ottawa, Montreal, Nova Scotia, Vancouver, Waterloo. That list is getting long. Since 2016, they have completed over 3,400 moves, transitioning women and their children to lives free of abuse. For his work with ShelterMovers, Marc was presented with the Meritorious Service Medal. Did I get that right? In 2022, which recognizes remarkable contributions made by individuals to Canadian society. Welcome, Marc.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I think that was our longest introduction.
That's a long introduction.
But it needs to be long to talk about how amazing you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So like we were talking about before we got on the air, we're a little bit different in terms of just being more conversational here. So the ShelterMovers introduction is phenomenal. Let's start a little bit before that. So before you were working with ShelterMovers, let's even go back to how you met Megan. Like, were you guys in university? How did you guys meet?
Yeah, thanks. And thanks. That was a very detailed intro. You did your homework. We've been living in the East End for a little while. I met my wife, Megan, is as a tour guide. You mentioned that the Meritorious Service Medal from the Governor General. We met at the Governor General's residence. We were tour guides in Ottawa in like the early 2000s.
That's amazing.
Yeah, best summer job. Red polyester jackets and skirts. And she was a tour guide, and we were both thinking about law school.
Yeah.
We both went to law school. She finished law school. I did some other stuff instead of law school. And we kept in touch. And I think when you meet the right person, and then you take different paths in your life, you get to see what the rest of the world looks like, and you meet other people, and you're like, oh no, I actually met the right person.
I got it right the first time.
Yeah. So we reconnected in 2006, and I actually kind of tricked her into flying to Vancouver with the help from her law firm. We gave her a fake client that she had to go meet who had been in an accident, and she's on the gondola going up the Grouse Mountain Hill, and she's calling me saying, Marc, we got to go here one day. This is crazy. I'm going to meet this family at the restaurant here. I hear they're quite wealthy. They invite me, and I'm in the restaurant looking, and I can see her in the gondola coming up the hill. I'm like, yeah, I can't hear you right now. Sorry, what? I can't, I'm just playing dumb, whatever. And so she sat down at the restaurant, at the observatory restaurant at the top, and I came up behind her and said, you said you want to talk about our future. Maybe this is a good time to do that. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was fun.
All guys should be listening to this, and now they have the big issues to go.
It's all downhill from there. I haven't done anything like that nearly as thoughtful or generous or anything.
Started off with a bang, though.
I thought you were like, I tricked her, to get on there. Like, no, you really tricked her. Yeah. Like, you went full throttle.
I take the credit for the idea, but her law firm, her colleagues thought it was beyond hilarious that she would get on a plane, and we had it all arranged. There were other crazy things that happened that day. It was a huge snowstorm. I was in Ottawa. She was in Toronto. Huge snowstorm in Ottawa the day that this was all supposed to go down, where she's supposed to get on the plane. I'm a few hours ahead of her getting on the plane to get to Vancouver before she does.
Wow.
The storm delays my flight. She gets to Vancouver first. I had some people there who were going to make things happen, but I was like on the plane where there's no cell phone service. And I'm like, I don't know what she's doing when I think we have a plan, but I hope this, otherwise I just waste a whole lot of money and the whole planning is dead. But it worked out, and she said yes, and we've had some babies since, and we love living in East Toronto.
That's amazing.
Nice.
So why Vancouver? If you guys were both in, like, what's the significance of Vancouver?
Well, my wife's family, her dad's from Newfoundland, her mom's from BC.
Okay.
And so they have a lot of connections to the West Coast. Vancouver's very important to them. And so I thought, how close could I get her to one of her favorite places? And fortunately, it wasn't like, Dubai or something. It's achievable and affordable.
In the country. And
right.
Air Canada, with an airplane.
That's right. Air Canada could get me there. Therefore, it was a good choice. So West Coast is important to our family. I'm from Halifax originally. I grew up in Coal Harbour, Nova Scotia, near Dartmouth. And so we have, our family's East Coast, West Coast for sure. And we try to live in Toronto and kind of be in the middle.
That's very cool. And is that why you ended up moving to Toronto, because it's in the middle, or was it for work, or was it?
Megs was articling here.
Okay.
And let's be honest, after the law school failure, I had no other place to go, frankly. So
you had no leg to stand on.
Nothing. I was basically freeloading, and no, just kidding. Her career was taking off, and I didn't want to put that in jeopardy, obviously. And I went to school after law school. I did a master's in anthropology. So understanding vulnerable populations, understanding what somebody who, looks and sounds like me, what's my location in society, and what do people expect when they see me, and what can I do to be useful to other people, and use my privilege and use my position to maybe make life a little easier for other folks.
So is that where, like, ShelterMovers, that seed was planted? Is that, or did it go back further than that? Was that always something that you had within you?
I wouldn't say at first. ShelterMovers wasn't. I did my field research in school in Taiwan. I actually had to learn some Mandarin, and I went and lived. I had to learn some Mandarin, and I got on a plane and did my field research in Taiwan, and I lived with a tribe in the jungle, in the mountains for about a year, and tried to appreciate what they were going through. And then when I came back to Canada, kind of changed my perspective on who I was and what I could do and who I could be useful to, and so on and so forth.
Amazing. Sorry, I'm just going to take one break. I'm going to bring all the outside.
Okay.
It's a good commercial break.
We should take a commercial break because we didn't actually talk about, Shane's gone. We're going to talk about Eastbound Brewery. We love them, Queen and Broadview. And we're drinking the Backpacker Blonde Ale, and it's crisp, bready, and bright. And I think that's a really nice description.
That's how I like to describe myself, actually.
I know, seriously.
That's what we matched the beer
Focus
with.
more on the most bready, yeah.
Great.
So thank you, Eastbound. Delicious.
Thanks, Eastbound. And speaking of backpacking, we're talking about, it all ties together.
It all ties together. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you backpacked, then you came back to Toronto, and you said, I've got to apply this.
Yeah, I came back and I said, I think we have a lot to be proud of in Canada, and I think we have a lot of hard truths that we need to kind of accept about ourselves as Canadians. That it's not a rosy picture for a lot of people in our country, and it's I grew up in the most, like I said, Nova Scotia, the most normal, boring, awesome family. I never wanted for anything. Yeah. And I think living with folks who lived a really different life kind of opened my eyes, kind of my life-changing event. And then coming out to Canada, saying, maybe Canada's not the paradise that I thought it was for a lot of people, and what can I do about that? And what do I have a responsibility to do? I think I didn't choose to get the privilege I was given, but I do have a choice about how I use it. So maybe I can be useful to some folks. And I have got 3 kids, as I mentioned, maybe, and I just think everyone deserves a chance to give the kids the same kind of household. So what can I do to help make that happen? That's
pretty remarkable, because a lot of people go backpacking and have those experiences, but they don't turn it into, a charity or do something like you've done to that level. So do you, obviously that experience was great, but going back, were you always like empathetic? Were you always charitable? Was it always something that like you kind of went towards, or was it an aha moment that kind of changed everything? Yeah, that's fair. My mom says I was a very sweet boy, but I was crying all the time, all the time. Every Disney movie, crying as like the credits are opening, like nothing's happened yet, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this music's so beautiful. I was like, stop, like you were made for this. I think I was made for this. Yeah. It's very important to me that the people around me are comfortable, and the people around me
know how important I think they are. And I think a lot about that. And I think, that if you start from that spot, even if it's in your work, it doesn't have to be a nonprofit, it can be in for-profit or whatever. But I think looking at other people and trying to see what the world looks like through their eyes is pretty critical if we're gonna take care of each other and if we're gonna make this a good city to live in and a good country to be in. It's awfully easy for somebody like me to. We have great income in our family. We live in a nice part of town. I can turn close my eyes to a lot of stuff if I want to, and I think that's going to contribute to a really rough community for a lot of other people who may not have the same opportunity. So, Spider-Man, great power comes great responsibility. I don't know if there's a thing there somewhere, but
that's cool. Yeah.
I feel like
it's true.
I got a lot of breaks in life, so if I don't do something with that, I'm probably not doing the best I can with what I've been given.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah. So when we met in 2016, 2017, it's been like 5-6 years now, which is crazy. I think you were just starting ShelterMovers. The first gala I went to, I think, was the second gala. And to see, even reading the list of cities that you're in now was like, wow, when's this going to end? It's like getting so long. What has amazed you about the growth that you guys have seen? Because from the outside, it's been almost exponential. Like I think you guys doubled from that year. You couldn't fit in the same event space from that gala. So what has touched you the most with how fast and how much people have rallied around you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been really shocked and struck by that. I think ShelterMovers being this community-based service where we're helping women and kids move out of abusive homes. It's not rocket science, and we know what abuse is, sadly, and we know what moving is. And when you tell people how much it's needed and how much support is required to actually make a sizable response, people really step up. And since 2016, exponential is kind of the right word. We've effectively doubled year over year in terms of our budget and our volunteers, and now we have staff. Yeah. I work for the organization now. I was doing this kind of on the side of my desk in another job before, but now this is my full-time gig. And you mentioned the 6 cities where we operate. Moncton, New Brunswick will be our 7th city in a few months, and I'm in discussions with donors and the federal government to add 12 more cities over the next 3 years. So
wow.
We'll be 3 times the size. So we can't double every year anymore, but there were 100,000 cases last year of abuse reported to police. Just the reported cases, many, many more that will never go reported.
It's the tip of the iceberg, really, right?
Really, absolutely. And so our service moved 1,400 families, and I'm very proud of that, and I think that's great. But the sandbox is 100,000. If we're going to take this problem seriously in Canada, if we're going to help, if community people, individuals are going to use our resources to help people in their community, we need to operate at a significantly bigger scale to really address the problem. So I'm very proud of the growth, and I think it speaks to the need. We are the only service of this kind in Canada. But if we're going to take this seriously and give anyone, mainly women and children, but anyone experiencing abuse a shot, we need to be much, much bigger.
Yeah. And what's the plan for that growth?
Well, I think all of our growth so far has been organic. These are husband and wife groups or groups of friends who said, why don't we have this in Ottawa? Well, we need this in Ottawa. Or why don't we have this in Vancouver or whatever? So they're reaching out. Right now we're talking to some groups in Edmonton and Calgary. Here in the GTA, we've grown out to Peel, York region. We'll look at Durham very soon to extend our service. And I think the key to the growth is passion, and it's a commitment, and people doing this for the right reasons. There's not a lot of money in nonprofit. I have a salary, but I'm not rolling in it exactly, but it's enough for me to take care of my family, and that meets my needs. So, the work feeds your soul, right? Helping people. We tell people all the time, do one move, go on one move, and drive with that client in the van, and go back to her house with her, and get on your hands and knees and get the toys out from under her bed and put it in a box, and then try not to do one more move, right? Yeah. It gets real really fast, and money doesn't really. We got to pay our bills. I know that, but
but you're not doing this for money.
I think there's a bigger purpose.
100%.
Absolutely.
That was really real, talking about the toys under the bed. Like that's when it hits home, right?
Yeah. I mean, moving moving's kind of awful at the best of times.
Yes.
It's hard, right?
It's really tough. Yeah, we just did it.
We've done
it 3 times in the last year.
Like 18 months, but like
18 months.
It's enough for me to look at clients that I know move and I'm like, don't do it. Like, you don't have to, don't move.
Yeah.
It's bad for my income, but don't do it. But like, I hate it. It was awful. But like, and then imagine like we have all the right resources and we're like blessed to whatever. And it's like, just goes to show you.
Just the logistics on their own without filtering that layer of abuse
fear
and fear. And am I doing the right thing? And what
will happen? Like, it's a lot.
Clients, survivors of abuse everyone asks, why doesn't she just leave? Why, you're in a bad situation. Why have you been there for 2 years? You know it's bad. You've been telling me for 2 years it's bad. Just leave. And it really shows how little we understand about what goes through the hearts and minds of people experiencing abuse. We know that survivors will go back up to 6 times in the relationship. We have more and more evidence at ShelterMovers that when they use our service, when they get all their stuff out, and when they leave, not when he's at work and running out, not in the middle of the night or whatever, but they're leaving on their own terms and leaving with some dignity.
Yeah.
And they've got some stuff with them, so they don't have the risk of falling back into poverty because of maybe this might be the 3rd time they leave, but this time they left for good.
Yeah.
And so we're actually breaking the cycle because we're reminding her of the power she's got inside her to make that decision for her and her family. And they've got their toys and they've got those symbols of normalcy and stability that kids need to be able to carry on. And we know that the faster we can get kids out of abusive relationships, the faster their minds can heal. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of our story, the moving and the stuff. That's not easy, but that's not the hardest part. The hardest part is doing it in a compassionate way and being consistent and reminding our volunteers that's actually really not about us. It's about her. And it's about her story. And we get to be the Obi-Wan Kenobi to her Luke Skywalker story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's the hero of her story, and we get to be on that journey with her.
Yeah.
We don't rescue people. We don't save people. They're saving themselves.
Yeah.
Totally. You just offer a service, and
we're here to support, but they're doing
all the heavy lifting because they're also explaining to their kid why they have to go.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're not even explaining it to their kid. They just need to go right now, and they don't have that time to help the kid get through it. That's the hard work. I can drive a truck and I can put some stuff in a box, but I'm probably never going to have to tell my kid, we got to go right now, and I can't tell you why. I know you can't take any of your stuff with you. I'm never going to want to tell my kids that. And I don't want anyone in Toronto to have to do that either. So maybe we can put something together that will be useful to them so we can, if they have to do it, it's just the one time and we get them to a safe place and they can just, move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the one thing that really stuck out to me, just from going to the galas when they were happening and just being around you, was the educational phase of it. And just we don't really understand what that mindset is. And, even the certain language that you're using when you're helping people with the moves, talking to people about, like, if you're proud of them, it's almost not a good thing to say, because if they do end up going back, they may not reach out to you. So it's such a delicate balance. Because obviously this you started it in 2016. How did you get all those resources to learn those type of things? And what, did you put in place so you could train yourself and your staff and the volunteers pretty quickly and get up and running to a point where you could actually be effective?
I did a lot of learning. I continue to do a lot of learning, and that's kind of built into our culture that, especially as a white cis male, I always know that I will never fully appreciate what my clients go through. So my job really is to listen and to learn constantly. That's the expectation we have of our volunteers, to say, you might make mistakes. That's not really the point. The point is, what are you going to do once you are corrected? If you say something, as you said, if we talk about how proud we are of our clients on the move, that puts an enormous amount of pressure on her. Yeah. She might feel too much shame if she goes back to ever call us again. Yeah. So are we really helping her? So being completely non-judgmental, and very neutral, pleasant, friendly, but not a friend. Yeah. Maintaining healthy boundaries, all that stuff. That's all. The best thing I ever did with ShelterMovers was immediately ask somebody who knew much more than this about me than I do about what I was trying to achieve to help me build it. And a lady by the name of Vicky Sage, when I had the idea for this moving service, I was on parental leave with Clarice, with our 3rd child. And so I had this concept, I wrote it up. I really didn't, other than my academic work, I didn't know much more than that about what happened for survivors in Toronto. And I cold called Shelter. Vicky Sage worked there. She picked up the phone. I said, listen, I got this idea. I've got some time because I'm on leave. I've got my daughter here. Like, I think I could like rent a truck and start moving people, you know? And she's like, oh yeah, it's 100%. We knew we needed this, which we didn't have the time at the shelters to figure out all the steps, but I can teach you what you need to know. Just make sure you're serving these people the right way.
Vicky's amazing, by the way. She's
a hero. Totally unsung. She's amazing. And she's a co-founder, and she won't admit to being it because she's a humble, wonderful person. And then my wife. So I should mention, so Megan doesn't work in this world, but she certainly has a natural affinity because of her work with people who've been in serious accidents and representing them and fighting for them. She has that spirit where she's really good at, she taught me to listen as well as I could, and then represent people's views unless I can get them to say it themselves, which is better. But if I can amplify, that's my job.
Yeah, absolutely. Were you surprised that this didn't exist already?
I was shocked.
I was shocked too, because it's such a simple concept. You know, it's really simple. And yeah, like it's shocking that this hasn't been put into place already.
So before ShelterMovers, as I understand, or in the absence of ShelterMovers in many cities in Canada, as I mentioned, she's the survivor is leaving however she can. We know that abuse usually starts with these sort of microaggressions, these little gaslighting behavior, but also it's about financial control.
Yeah.
So he's taking control of the account, and he urges that they merge their accounts together. So now he's got, and then it's, controlling how she spends her money. Then it's giving her an allowance because she can't be trusted because she's too incompetent to spend money. So attacking her own self-confidence, that whole messaging, and tying that to money. So in the absence of ShelterMovers, in all likelihood, many of our clients, even very wealthy clients in neighborhoods where there are homes I could never afford, they don't have access to the bank account, and he's watching the credit card. So she doesn't have financial independence, which is, and so that's the first tool of control and coercion that abusers will use. So before ShelterMovers, she was leaving with the cash she could have in her hand. She was borrowing cash from neighbors or whatever. She was trying to apply for credit cards without him knowing, but that's also very risky and dangerous. So, and she would just sort of leave, maybe with the car, maybe without the car, because he had the keys with him all the time so that she couldn't get the car without his permission. All this crazy, awful stuff, right? And excuse me. And then, and if she just fled, or if she called the police even, they're not a moving service. They're not going to put her couch and her chairs and the baby's crib in the car. They're going to say, the shelter has a 2-bag limit. Yeah. You can't take more than that. What would you, and I even put that to you guys, and to anyone listening, if you had to leave tonight, what's going to go in your 2 garbage bags? Because that's it. You're not going back to get it. Yeah. Because you're going to get hurt or he's going to kill you. I don't want to be dramatic, but that's the reality our clients face. And that's the question our clients have had to face and have to face all the time if they don't use our service. What are you going to put in your two bags? Because the rest of it's not coming back, and he's controlling the bank accounts. So that's what you're going to start your life with.
That's crazy.
So I know
it's surreal, but it's something that we should, like, that's why we wanted to talk with you to shine the light on this. So.
I'm being doom and gloom. I don't mean to be.
No, but it's being realistic, right? It's talking about the problem.
Us, we grew up in the Pleasantville, I had a shiny, happy childhood, and I didn't understand.
Like you said, playing and normal.
I was playing on the street, and I was covered in mud, and the streetlights came on, and I went home, and I had a warm supper, and I went to bed. And so, but it is really important. I was lucky enough to go to a gala right before COVID hit, and I will say, that changed. We went as the Richards Group, and it changed our whole perspective, because we were like, oh my God, we're so unaware of how hard and scary and frightening this is for so many people. We hear our dog in the background. But it's crazy. And it's even from when I saw you guys at the gala, and it was to hear where you're at now, it's amazing to see the growth, but it's so sad because it's everywhere and it's constant.
It's a double-edged sword, right? You're happy to see the growth, and then you realize that this isn't just a Toronto issue. It's not a city issue. It's not a suburb issue. It's like an all over
everywhere issue.
Yeah.
It is sad that the need is there. But as you can imagine, I look at our growth as Canadians saying, we're not accepting this anymore.
Yeah.
And we're going to organize. And the abuse is going to be there whether or not we organize or not. So let's organize and let's meet this together. And you know, if you know, the Riches Group has been amazing. You've been amazing to support for what we've done in Toronto. And I think businesses have an opportunity to kind of what you said, kind of open their eyes to what's happening in neighborhoods across the city and ask themselves, what's my role?
Yeah.
You know, am I here to just make cash and make more money for shareholders, or is there a bigger purpose here? What's good for the community is good for my business. Maybe it's a good business investment to get my employees engaged and have them learn about what's going on in their own neighborhoods. Because this, as you said, this is not a rich thing. It's not a poor thing. No. Yeah. It's not an immigrant thing. It's not a white thing. It's not a black thing. There is no community in Canada where there isn't some form of abuse.
Yeah.
This is affecting all of us all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, I think about men. I think, you know, as a guy, I think about, you know, what do we want to be as men? I'm 43.
Time goes by right now.
I think I just lost a year of my life.
Yeah, I think we all did.
It's fine.
You know, what kind of guy do I want to be? What kind of dad do I want to be to my kids? And what do I? It's not about me and my legacy. I think that's kind of hokey, but what do I want to be for the people around me? And I think whether you're starting a charity or you're just you know, you're doing some reading classes for some kids after school to help them. Like, it doesn't really matter, but I think we have a chance to make a difference. There's so much need for so many different causes, not just sort of supporting abusers, but I mean, there's no shortage of opportunities to volunteer and give back and raise awareness. Or, you know, like I said, what we do is very tangible. But I think men in particular, if we're going to take violence against women in Canada really seriously, unless we engage men in the solution, and women have made incredible strides and made, you know, and fought for literally hundreds of years in Canada to make progress, thank goodness. And maybe men are a little late to the game. Yeah. But if we're going to take this seriously, men need to understand that this is actually, violence against women isn't a women's problem in the sense that we've said it. It's actually a men's problem.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, that's really well put.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to own it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that men are bad. It means that more often than not, bad things happen to men when they were little boys.
Right.
Yeah. It's systemic.
Right. So this is our chance to break it and try to do something differently.
Yeah. Well, I think, like you said, you know, earlier about being doom and gloom, I think you're being realistic and you're talking about what's actually happening. I think that's so important. Like, we had Chef Cheryl on the podcast a week ago. Yeah. And she went through, and she's very vocal about this, her drug and her addiction issues. And she's like, I talk about it because if you don't, then that, you know, creates that stigma, right? So it's something that I think it's the same for any, like, abuse, any of those issues. I think the more that we talk about those uncomfortable things, the less they are stigmatized, the more people will reach out for help, and the more it'll become normal to talk about what you're actually dealing with. Because I think that is a huge barrier, and correct me if I'm wrong as well, but people actually just, you know, living almost two separate lives and showing one face in public and another behind closed doors, but not being afraid to just, hey, like, I'm having a tough time, or this is what's going on, or this is what I'm dealing with, big or small. I think it's just better for everybody as a society, right?
100%. Yeah. Calling it out, being real with ourselves, I think is really important. And I think in the world, I know in the world of gender-based violence, it's not talking about it really is helping. That's the perfect scenario for the abuser. Yeah. They don't want anyone talking about it.
Of course.
The men that we encounter when we show up at the house, fortunately, and we have security and police to make sure we're actually in a safe space, but we always have two responses from the men who answer the door. One of two. First one is the obvious one. They're grumpy. They're not happy. They're fighting over that. That's my TV. You can't have that. And she's like, it's my TV. I have no, it's my, those guys. And then you have the other ones. The other ones are super polite and super charming and actually nice and so sorry that you guys had to come. We just had this disagreement. We're going to work it out. We're like, yeah, totally get it. No problem. Go get the couch. We talk our way in and we get our stuff. But by not talking about it, we're really enabling the people who want this to stay behind closed doors. Yeah. And whether it's the demons in our own hearts and minds or it's the demons that are happening behind our neighbor's front door, I couldn't agree more. It is talking about it, and it's guys talking to each other about it as well. Yeah. To redefine when it means to be a guy in the locker room talking all that crap, that doesn't fit in my life. And it's not who I want my son to be either.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to encourage that.
And do you see that?
That's awesome, by the way.
I mean, I don't know.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It should, if that's awesome, it shouldn't.
I know.
It should be super normal.
I know. I totally agree.
Don't be a jerk if you're a guy. That doesn't make anybody a hero.
Yeah.
Don't be a jerk.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it really, and I think it is starting to change, but that for so long has been, like you said, like the locker room talk, it's just been like a toxic culture, right? So at this point, I think it is kind of awesome because it has to be. And then hopefully we'll get to a point where it is just normal.
I feel like Gen Z is changing like the tone of a lot of things right now. And I think it's really exciting to I'm not a Gen Z at all. I'm the elder side of the millennial spectrum.
Yeah.
But I like to look on like TikTok, and then you see all these like young kids that are like standing up for themselves and like respecting each other and boundaries and like me too and like calling people out. It's really awesome to see what this next generation is doing.
It is very cool. And do you see that yourself, or can you speak to that? Obviously you have kids. Can you see a change? Is there like a fundamental, we were talking about before we got on air, the Phoenix volleyball, where it's, about the self-esteem and talking about their day and their feelings and things like that. Are you seeing kind of a mass shift? Is it enough? Is it not enough? Like, what are you seeing?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, so earlier we were talking about a volleyball club my daughter plays for, and I was saying how, it's an hour and a half practice, but after they show up at the start of the practice, they immediately go together, they sit on the floor together in a circle on the volleyball court, and they talk for 15 minutes about how their day went and how they're feeling about what their life is like. And these are girls, tweens, right? 11, 12, 13-year-old girls. Tough time in young woman's life, I would imagine. And the club has realized very quickly that if they show up to practice and they're crying or they're sad, their athletic performance will suffer. Not that it's all about athletic, but how do you coach someone who's just not feeling right? So to help them center themselves and ground themselves, they're going to spend 10, 15 minutes and just share how they're feeling, just talk about that. Maybe young girls are made to feel more comfortable doing that than a group of young boys. So I'd like to see a group of 12-year-old boys talking about how they felt like crying all day this morning because of something that happened.
Yeah.
I think when we get to that spot, and I've not seen that, I don't have kids, a boy that age, my son's younger, but again, not to make it all about boys and whatever, but I think there's a lot more work for young boys to do to get to that place of comfort and confidence that young women probably feel, and be able to talk about how they
feel and their emotions.
You're right. It's open. It's always open for girls to talk to your friends and talk about your feelings, talk to your parents about your feelings. Like I have a lot of brothers, and my parents are probably way too feeling emotional. Like my mother, we always said like she could just smother us. But like, boys are always taught to be like kind of keep it quiet. Like, boys don't cry.
Yeah.
And it's so like, what that does to boys, I could imagine, because I was always like a weeping soul. Like I like something doesn't go my way, I'm like, just
welcome to the club.
Everybody on Maneva in the beach knew me because I was always crying on the front porch or like having a tantrum somewhere. Just my emotions were always at the surface. But my brother was always like cool, calm, and collective, and it was like not that my parents were like telling him to keep it cool, but I feel like the society always just tells everybody to like.
Well, he was also a high level athlete too, so very much like locker room.
Keep it together.
Yeah.
And so I could see where men, as you grow up in this world as like an outsider, because I'm a female, and watching, if you want to express something and you can't, and then that's when things get pushed down. And so the more we talk about it, like you said, the better we are for everything. Moving forward, we just bring emotions out, and we.
What was that? There's an article, news piece I read recently. It said the most dangerous person in North America is an angry young man.
Yeah, totally. Angry white young man most of the time.
Probably.
Right? Like if you look at most of the, mass, I don't want to get over our depth here, but a lot of the mass shootings and things like that, like I've seen graphics where it's a profile and it's mostly young white men that are frustrated, right? Whether or not they think that they should be further ahead in life or whatever the problem is. But yeah, super dangerous. I do feel like we are at a bit of an inflection point though, where we almost had like that participation trophy era where it's like, okay, just make everybody feel good. But now I think we're kind of getting to the point where those people are becoming adults and they're kind of learning like, okay, there's some nuance here. It's not just like, hey, here you go, here's a trophy. It's like, okay, let's work on, like, you said with this volleyball thing, how you're feeling, get in touch with your emotions, like actually doing the work. And that seems to be from, at least from a broad perspective, that does seem to be happening more. Like we talked about Little Kitchen Academy. And what that is we had them on the podcast as well. And basically they teach skills to children in a Montessori style where it's 3-hour blocks and they have ownership of their own lockers and they have their own knives. And it's like not, helicopter parenting. It's like you're very much responsible for all of that. And here's some ingredients and you can make something with it. And like providing self-esteem and ownership and confidence. So it does seem like more of these things are happening. I'm sure not at the rate that they should be, but it is cool to see, again, that actual work being done, not just, okay, everybody feel good. It's no, like, let's learn how to, make dinner out of vegetables. Let's learn how to use tools. Let's learn how to engage with our feelings. And it's kind of cool.
One of the concepts we use in our work is, I'm getting academic-y now here, but intersectionality, right? So the idea that where we are in life is touched by a whole series of factors. And if I was a white straight male from a privileged family, obviously I'll have it my perspective. If I'm a lesbian Ethiopian woman who's just arrived in Canada, obviously a series of opportunities and challenges in that same context. And I think I've got 2 girls and a son, and I think Megan and I try to look at our 3 kids as individually as we can, because even if they're in the same family, even if we try to raise them and we love them the same way, we'll have these 3 different results from these 3 different personalities because they'll have their own individual experience. And then you add gender into that. Maybe one of my children will be LGBTQ, if that's who they are. And so understanding that, I think, is really important to raising my kids, but I think also when we're looking at kids generally in society, sort of what you say is sort of, allow them to get into good trouble, provide them with opportunities to fail. Achievement's nice, but that's not really the point. Like those kinds of messages, I do hear a lot of that through my children as to what they're seeing at school. Yeah. And they go to school in East Toronto, very multicultural school, public school, rich and poor, black, white. It's nice, perfect mix. It's a French school, so you've got language in there. And so I think what we're seeing through our children is certainly in the education system in Toronto, in our particular world, an acceptance of as you said, not just participation for the sake of participation, and not just working hard for achievement. Working hard because doing the work and working hard is really kind of the point, and building your skills is kind of the point.
It's the process, not the end result.
Indeed.
The process is,
Indeed.
Yeah.
And same with this volleyball thing, that winning, who doesn't love to win? Everyone loves to win. But if you can become a better person out of it, if you can build a nice team atmosphere, that's,
something for them really to look forward to, get it off their chest, have the camaraderie.
That's really what youth sports should be about.
Absolutely.
Because not everyone's going to go, be a pro volleyball player, right?
No, and maybe like it's not what as a parent, I'm not a parent, but as a parent, what I would want to do, and what I always did when I was in sports was I want to be around friends, around great people. Probably not into that much mischief when you're in sports. You can't get into that much trouble, and you get like a nice group team. You learn team efforts because working with a team is
different personalities.
It's total different personalities, and in life you have to learn how to work with different personalities.
True.
So I think that's important.
It's very good.
Where I was going with this.
No, but it's true. It's just I think we're talking about fixing the culture from the ground up, and I think sports can be a good thing where it has been toxic in the past and maybe still is a little bit now, but it's such a good opportunity. That's why I thought that was so cool. It's a good opportunity, right? You've got these kids, they want to be active and be social and do well, and if you can kind of fix that and have it where it's not about, because again, they're not all going to be NHL players, they're not all going to be and actually make them better humans. It's a good the opportunities are there.
Well, we see that even as talk about my work a little bit more. These are groups of volunteers who show up to do a move and they've never met each other before.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we have a huge roster of people. You get an email, and there's a move coming up on Thursday. Are you free? And if you are, you show up. And you don't know. We don't share a lot of the information for security reasons. We just say, be at this location at this time. There'll be a van there with the team, and you're going to go, and we're going to go to this to protect everyone's And so you get these crazy stories of people who volunteer and they go on moves together. And we've had many couples that have formed at ShelterMovers because they're like-minded.
Yeah.
And so in our moves, the lead mover, we prefer to put women identifying people in the lead position because they work with the client on the ground and the clients are more comfortable.
Yeah.
So in one case, a volunteer said he did this move with this woman and she was really cool and really interesting. And it was a really hard move and it was emotionally draining and physically hard, but it was really fulfilling and he liked it. And he gets another email a few days later saying, so-and-so will be leading this move. It'll be at this location. So he signs up for that move too. Not in like a creepy way, but like in a, she was cool kind of way. So I get this call a few weeks later and it's my lead mover, my employee who's leading. She's like, yeah, like, are we having like a volunteer problem? Like, I'm getting like this guy, like, he's super nice. I really like him, but like, he's been on a lot of moves. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. So
he's a volunteer. We're going to say yes.
Exactly.
It's working and it's good.
He's a very large band who can carry big things. We're not going to say no. And he's the right kind of guy. Yeah. So of course, now they're a couple. They bought a house. They live in East Toronto, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And they are, they're in love and they met doing something that mattered to them. And, you know, to the teamwork point, they had to be able to work together on that team. And if they hadn't done that stuff when they were kids to learn how to not make it about you and think about other people, you know, maybe they wouldn't have volunteered in the first place. And maybe there's a chain of reactions that some Hollywood writer can write a script about or something. But
it sounds like a Hollywood movie. That's a very good rom-com.
I know, but it's real. It really happened. Yeah. I know these people and they did it. And I told them, like, I want to be the officiant at their wedding. And like, I want to do the wedding in like a storage facility so we can get like corporate sponsors.
First ShelterMovers baby will be very cool.
Absolutely.
Well, what better way than to make your own volunteers?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
generations
like
to come.
18 years in the making.
That is awesome.
I was going to ask you guys about this podcast, but that seems like a little. Do podcasters talk about? Is that like a cardinal rule?
Totally talk.
We could break the third wall here or whatever.
That's right.
I think there's no rules. You can ask us anything you want.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you more about this. I'm absolutely fascinated by this format, this interview. You're talking to interesting people in the community or whatever, and I think what you're doing is community building, and I think what you're doing is not done enough. It's as if, you know, even in urban settings, neighbors don't know each other.
Totally.
I think what you're doing is much bigger than interviewing people you think are worth interviewing. I think, especially as someone who lives in the community, I've been watching what you've been putting out, and I've learned so much about. My kids are learning about their neighborhood.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Because they're watching and listening to what you guys are saying. And I wouldn't know those people to be able to introduce them to my kids, but you did that. And I think maybe we're missing that in urban settings. In the early parts of the pandemic, my family and I left for Nova Scotia. Yeah. We lived there for a year by the ocean. Beautiful, but very lonely, not very long, very secluded, very quiet, very different than living in the beach. And we didn't have any neighbors to get to know. So that was a thing. And we came back here and there's so many people around us. And my kid's like, we don't know anyone around our house. And it's not like we didn't try. We're like kind of friendly people, right?
Yeah.
But I think what you're doing is kind of helping Torontonians kind of wake up and realize there's a chance. There are really interesting people around us if we just give it a chance.
Well,
the best people.
I appreciate you saying that, but it's so true. Like, we were thinking about, you know, so we're going to do this in 2 seasons a year. We're going to try to, and we're a good way through season 1 right now. The plan's 10 episodes and then 10 episodes in the fall. And at first, when we were mapping this out, we're like, how are we going to get 10 people, you know? And then we started like, oh yeah, we should have this person on and this person on and this person on. And it's all East End. And it's just like, it seems like an endless amount of people that we could talk to. And every time we do a podcast, someone else is like, oh, you got to talk to this person and this person.
And you're like, why? I can't believe I didn't think of them. It's like, the East End is amazing. I'm a born and raised like East Toronto person. And I like, you just cherish it. And everybody that's in the East End champions around East Enders. And we hold everybody like tight, and like it's really special. Like I feel like
there's a pride.
There's a real pride in the East End. Like I would say, I used to say the beach, and now that I live in Leslieville, I feel like it's almost like just extended this like wonderful warmth, like of a hug of everybody that knows everybody and wants everybody to do well and support local businesses. And like if we know someone local doing something great, we want to like push them up. And it's this really wonderful champion of like, I don't know, camaraderie.
It's camaraderie, and it's not competitive. It's collaborative. Like we had Luke from Ono Pizza here. Shout out to Ono Pizza. But
it's the best pizza if you've never had it.
It really is. It's personally my favorite. But anyway, but one of the things I asked him was how the pizza community is in the East End. Like, is it competitive? Because you see on Facebook groups, you see, there's Slow Hand now, there's Makers, there's Descendants Pizza, like there's Blondies, like all these, in the past couple of years have popped up. And he said they're all super collaborative. Like they talk to each other. It's a community. They're not, like trying to take orders away from anyone else. That's not the mentality at all. And I think that's reflective of the entire East End, which is really, really cool. And I like that you said community building, because that's exactly what we want to do. Like we're not here to promote ourselves. We want to, connect people and have conversations. Like we're really enjoying this conversation. Like we, thoroughly enjoy it. So selfishly, we get something out of it, but then we get to share it with everybody else. And
hopefully more people know about ShelterMovers, and more people donate, and more people volunteer, and maybe you'll have the gala this year, and you'll sell out more tickets.
That's a big question.
I know.
The gala
that's what I was.
Nice
segue.
So the answer is we're trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
CDC in the US says 2 waves through 2022, or coming down, I guess, or the peak of the first. The second one will come probably in the fall.
Yeah.
We do our thing in the fall. We can't put anyone at risk, but we still need, we're a charity. We need to raise money.
Yeah.
We don't sell anything, so we live and die by the generosity of people in our community, businesses. So, our last gala was 2 years ago. We had 350 people at Arcadian Court at Queen and Bay.
Yeah. Huge
Event. Awesome to have everybody there. Obviously, have you guys present. And I think I think we have, in the absence of having the gala, we have a few other ideas. Okay. We have one right now. I'll plug it. It's called Her Time.
That's what we're looking for.
Coming up in around Mother's Day.
Okay.
Her Time is online cooking opportunity with a wine pairing event.
Amazing.
Perhaps possibly inspired by other online cooking events that I may have enjoyed.
Hosted by Chef Cheryl, Uncle Chuck.
Yeah.
That we had on last week.
I made some ribs a few days ago with my Uncle Chuck seasoning.
Amazing.
That I'm in love with.
Delish.
Yeah. But our emphasis, obviously, focusing on women-owned businesses, women-owned wineries, female sommelier, people who, business people, not women, but who are business people who are successful in their own right, and just recognizing the need to build each other up, I think, as you said quite well. So in the absence of the gala, if we don't do it, we'd like to do it, but if we don't do it, we have Her Time coming up. And anybody who wants to learn more goes to ShelterMovers.com. The banner will be there, and I think it'll be fun. It'll be a meal for 4, or you just pay a lesser amount and you get the receipt, the list of recipe items, and you can get them yourself if you want. So
if you do a meal for 4, do you get the food delivered to you, like the ingredients delivered?
You get all the ingredients delivered to your house.
Awesome. Excellent. And so that's called Her Time.
Correct.
You go to ShelterMovers.com. And what date is it?
It's definitely around Mother's Day.
Okay, so I'm not going to hold you to anything. Sorry,
TBD.
I thought I'm like really like wanted to.
I don't. I can look it up and we can reshoot the question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
We can put it up on.
It's a totally normal question.
Yeah.
Why didn't I know the date?
No.
I
wouldn't know the date either.
Let's be honest. Neither would I.
Yeah. And if there's any way we can help with that, by the way, Richard's group, we would.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be really good. We've approached McDonald and Associates, which is a big law firm downtown. Natalie McDonald also lives on Glen Manor, as a matter of fact. She's been a supporter of ours for a while, and we hope that McDonald and Associates will support. If they can't, we're going to reach out to our friends in other industries, maybe Richard's group wants to lend their support behind that. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Sure.
Awesome. And speaking of food, this is a very tough question. I know that you guys are into oysters.
So these are hard questions.
You're from the East Coast,
These
and
are
actually
hard-hitting questions.
the East Coast and then West Coast as well.
Truth.
Better oysters. East Coast,
That's a
West
good
Coast.
question. I mean, I'm from Nova Scotia, but PEI is, I think, kind of a mecca for the oyster world. We debate this. It's a heated debate in our family, but I think my wife's, as I mentioned, she grew up in Newfoundland, so we have to go East Coast on that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very important.
I would 100% agree. And we went to the West Coast and we did a so we were in Vancouver and Shane had this, we love oysters, maybe not as much as you, but like very much so.
Yeah.
And Shane's like, I got an idea. There's like 5 oyster houses within like a walking radius.
Yeah.
We're going to hit up every single one.
And during it, like oyster hour, happy hour, whatever it was. It was like 6 to 7,
we
I
really
think a
had
dozen
to like
oysters.
plow through. We were like eating a dozen. They were like speed walking in the middle of the summer, and there's like everything was hot. And then by the time we got to the last place, I was like, I can't eat any more oysters. Like it's just like it's been a lot of oysters, and they were all West Coast, which is a little bit of a different flavor.
I think they're a little bit of a mix, but mostly West Coast stood out.
And in the middle of the summer is not the most ideal time for an oyster. Like the water's really
For a West Coast oyster, yeah.
The heat.
Yeah, the heat was, So anyway, not a great experience with West Coast oysters. We'll leave it at that.
We've lost the lust for West Coast oysters.
But apparently if you go in August, that's not the time to go for West Coast oysters.
Well, that's
which I've learned in hindsight.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the running joke in Nova Scotia and East Coast is everyone goes to Nova Scotia and they want to eat lobster. Well, there's a season for lobster, and if you're buying lobster in like, I don't know, April, that lobster is not coming from. It was caught somewhere else
and shipped over here.
Right. During the beginning of the pandemic, the Chinese love lobster, and just by sheer numbers, the number of orders to China of lobster is enormous, and so Nova Scotia provides a large quantity of lobsters to the Chinese. And it's a major industry, obviously, Nova Scotia. And with the pandemic, when it shut down in early 2020, there were, I think the estimate was sort of 767s per week of lobster going to China pre-pandemic. And then everything gets shut down, everything stops. But the fishing doesn't stop. They still have traps in the water. They need to get their lobsters. Anyway, Nova Scotia had this like plethora of lobsters, and the price of lobsters dropped down. So right around the time we ended up moving to Nova Scotia, we're like, oh, we should get some lobster. It was kind of expensive. My mom's like, we're gonna eat lobster like 7 times a week because it's like $2 a pound, and there's no market for it. Oh, wow. And they weren't going overseas. So yes, you're right. Everyone loves the good lobster out of season, or if they can get, but when the price goes down, everyone just like dives in.
Right.
Were you doing the lobster scrambled eggs?
You can do lobster scrambled eggs. You can do I go
lobster
on.
roll.
I go
so
on and on with that. Yeah, lobster right in the salad. You can do. Some people don't like it, but lobster on your ice cream because it flavors the ice cream. Yep, you can get
Is this
lobster.
something that you like?
I like it. I mean,
What
lobster
kind of ice cream?
Just like regular like vanilla ice cream.
Vanilla.
Okay, I can maybe see
like
vanilla. And is it like salt and sweet? Is that kind of thing, or is it just almost? Yeah, I can see that.
Salt and sweet kind of ice cream. Yeah. Lobster ice cream. Check it out.
Interesting.
I'm my mind is blown.
I think I could do vanilla and lobster. I love lobster scrambled eggs. I love them. They're so good. We also did a couple times, like Eamon, who actually does Little Kitchen Academy. Jenny's really good friend, is Rodney's son.
Oh, Rodney's Oyster House.
Yeah, for Rodney's Oyster House. So we did they'd have some specials where we do the lobster rolls there. We'd take those and make those at home, and those are delicious.
He taught Shane how to shuck an oyster while we were out on the patio, and in the pandemic, it was like we went over for outdoor oysters on their patio, and
it was really cool.
It was a lot of fun.
The last time I had oysters, maybe not last time, recently, in the last few months, I had oysters at a family friend's house, and not everyone in the house liked them, so I ended up eating a lot of the oysters, and it was a good night, and then we decided to go see a movie after. And it was a very long movie, and I started getting really cold during the movie. And next thing I know, my teeth are chattering during the movie, and my buddy's like, "What is wrong? Like, stop it! Why?" And we're so excited to be in a theater, and I'm like, I don't feel so good. They're like, "Shut up! The movie's almost done." I'm like, okay, but I'm not. Anyway, so I'm like chattering. I'm cold. I'm like laying on my buddy's, like my head is on his lap on the driving home. I'm like, I'm not okay. The next night, he's like, "It's stupid oysters, you loser. You ate all those oysters. That's why we don't eat oysters." And I spent like the next 24 hours like eating crackers or whatever because oysters.
That's what happened to me in BC.
Things are risky.
Yeah.
They are risky.
They're risky, but they're worth it. There's a good Anthony Bourdain quote.
What is it?
That I do not remember, but it's something about you're going to get a bad oyster or whatever, but you just got to eat them anyway. It's like, it's like that's life. You can't let that stop you.
When the oyster is really bad, they light the match. That's how you know. In like the shucking, they're like, you can smell matches. You're like, what was that? They're like, we opened a bad oyster, and like, because it would like shut down the store.
There's a whole oyster subculture that Jenny's part
Interesting.
of. It's like,
what does the match do? I don't understand.
Well, it like burns out the smell of whatever that rock oyster did.
Yeah.
So you can always, like, if you're out for dinner and you're out at Rodney's and you're like, what's going on? It's like full of
Sulfur,
matches. And they're like, yeah, you're happy that you're smelling this and not the oyster, because the oyster was like rotten.
It's wretched. Yeah.
Like rancid.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Jenny's like, she's refereed oyster shucking competitions, and
I've gone to PEI and I would like watch the Canadian championships. Like, it is like the most insane high like profile. It's wild.
Is it speed?
It's
how do you measure
speed, accuracy, cleanest plate. If they've punctured the meat of it,
yes.
Is there any shells in it? The judging is very serious. I've never judged. I've timed, and I've watched. Like I've enjoyed Ontario, the championship that happens out at Rodney's, and I'm sure it's going to happen this summer. So I'm so excited. And I've gone to PEI where it's in like the town arena. And there's like,
it's crazy. I never knew about it until I met her.
Thousands of people. The shuckers have groupies. You go and you're like, what's going on? They're like, whoa! They're like, us rock-ons are like, whoa! And you're like, what? I'm at an arena in rural PEI. There's Cavendish fry trucks outside, and like it is like the sporting event of the century.
Yeah, Eamon's an interesting dude, man. He was like because I think he's second runner-up to the world or something.
He's gone. Yeah, he wins Ontario. He's won Ontario a lot, and then he's gone to the Canadians. And then when you win the Canadians in PEI, you go to Ireland, and then you go for the world in Ireland. But the key in Ireland, I know too much. I almost
amazing.
know too much, but I can't explain it.
I didn't know this was the thing.
It's the most unbelievable underbelly culture of life, and then they have to shuck Irish oysters, which are very different.
How?
So
Why?
I don't know, because I've never had an Irish oyster. But I think that they're very different and they're very complex to shuck. So that competition, when you get there, it's like
a home field advantage.
They have a total home field advantage, but it's like very, it's very competitive. But he's made friends all over the world. Like
Great Wall of China, he shucked oysters on the Great Wall of China.
What?
Yeah, it's
oysters
cool. He should have a team.
Is he on your show? Has he been on?
Well, he was in these Little Kitchen Academy.
Yeah,
Sorry. We didn't get into this as much, but
we should just have him on, just talk about oysters, because it's really incredible.
It's really cool.
But yeah, it's the Ontario Oyster Shucking Championships is a really fun thing to take part of. But what I want to talk about before, because we're wrapping up on the hour, I want to know, how can we give you money?
Oh, how can we give support?
Can we give
me?
Yeah. Make it out to
right
cash.
Now.
It's JAC.
That's right. I thank you for the question. Because we have corporate relationships, not just with Richards Group, but we have storage and security personnel, and they all donate their products and services. We keep our costs to move a family at a very, very low level. We estimate that it costs about $200 to move a family and store their belongings and get them to a safe place. So that's about less than $20 a month. And so going to ShelterMovers.com is the easiest way, and we ask people to think about that. We've had office groups come together and say, we're moving 5 families. We're going to find $1,000. We're going to move 5 families together at this holiday party, or we're having a golf tournament and we're going to move 100 families by the end of this day, one way or the other. And it's an easy target. So to answer your question, ShelterMovers.com, think about what it costs to move one family. Think about the long-term effects of that, not just for the woman, but for her kids. Absolutely. And make the donation. And, as I mentioned, we moved 1,400 families last year. Our goal this year is 1,712. Wow. That's what we need to do, and that's what we're aiming to grow into. So every little bit helps, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it today.
cool.
Amazing. Yeah.
And if anyone wanted to do volunteer work, they would go to ShelterMovers.com as well to
hit the gym first. No, just kidding.
There's a training program you send out.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's P90 X Shelter Movers.
Yeah.
That's right. ShelterMovers.com. There's a sign up page for that. Going to, like as I mentioned, being the volunteer, there are jobs where you're on the move and you're physical and whatever. A lot of people can't do those. So we have lots and lots of positions where we need help with maybe some marketing, and we need help with people who are in finance with accounting and stuff like that. All the stuff that you don't get to see in the back end of the organization that we need a lot of help with. I'm not an accountant. I'm good at raising money. I'm not good at like managing where it goes and what accounts it can GL codes and whatever. That's not my jam. So we have a lot of folks who do their professional work for Shelter Movers, kind of in evenings and weekends because they're great accountants and we need that.
That's
amazing.
Awesome.
And we'll put all the links up and this goes up. We'll put it on the podcast, YouTube, tag you, all that fun stuff. And we'll also support, for coming on, we'll support 3 families.
Well, thank you. That's great. That's very kind.
We always appreciate your time. And we do, to switch to a little bit of a different note, we have a lightning round.
We have a lightning round.
Oh, wow.
So
it's like one of those Japanese game shows and like you get really injured if you get it wrong.
Will there be salmon involved in this?
There's salmon. There's lobster ice cream.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are just questions about the East End or not, but ideally if you can think of East End answers.
Love it.
And as quick as you can.
Like for one of the episodes, I think my dear friend Haley, we stumped her for like 45 minutes. I was like, so what's this? The first question is, what's your favorite restaurant? And she was like,
we got to a point where like, name any restaurant.
I felt like just Trebek on like SNL. I was like, just name a restaurant anywhere in the world. She was like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, let's pause this. We don't need to make this so stressful. So
that's a spoiler. The first question is, what's your favorite restaurant?
Doesn't need to be stressful. We've got Chewbacca at the front. Is she okay?
Yeah, she's good.
Punch it, Chewy.
Honestly. So anything East End, but if you think it's better somewhere else, don't be shy. But we're East End Toronto people, so it's nice to not have to cross the DVP and do anything.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay, so lightning round.
Lightning round.
Mark, Shelter Movers. Here we go.
I'm ready.
Favorite restaurant?
Vivetha, Queen East.
What's your best dish there?
I like the veal.
Yep. Okay, favorite clothing store?
Favorite clothing store. You know what? I don't really buy clothes and full price. Everything I kind of own is Valley Village. So
shout out. Right at Queen and
East End.
Queen Logan.
Logan.
Yeah, nice. Gym.
I'm also very cheap, so I bought all my own equipment in my basement.
Home gym.
Basement gym.
Coffee shop. Coffee shop.
Good question. Low carb cafe.
Nice.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, at Willow and.
Oh, you're good with the street. Yes, that's right. That's
really good. Okay, cool. Best burger.
That's easy. Oh my gosh. Kingston Road. He's always giving away
Fearless Meats. So
yes.
good, my God.
I know. Everyone says that.
And they give out everything, and they're just like so kind.
Best story, if I may. Oh no, am I allowed to do that? No. Keep going.
The Flower Shop.
Yeah.
Flower Shop. Best pizza.
That's hard. There are a lot of good ones.
So stressful.
I only say Pizziolo, but I know it's a franchise, but it's across the street from.
It's the Pizza Maker's Pizza.
It's a delight.
It's the Pizza Maker's Pizza.
It's good.
It's across the street from my daughter's dance school, so
it's a great go-to. Yeah.
It's a great. If you're gonna go chain, Pizziolo.
Yeah, fair.
Killer.
Yeah.
What's your favorite brewery in the East End?
Left Field.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Bakery.
I don't know if Sift is a bakery, but Sift on Gerard, wonderful, incredible cakes. And I don't think she has a shop, but Libby makes the cakes and she's amazing. Sift.
That sounds amazing. Your favorite takeout food? Now, I don't know, because you're the father of 3. We have a hangover edition and not hungover edition.
Oh, yeah. Well, mine could be either. So I like Shuri Punjab on Danforth.
Nice.
I also
second person that says that.
Yeah, no, they're the real deal. We used to live in that area, and we live in and if I may offer second one, is they just moved to Queen East and they were on Kingston Road, but they kept their number 9 905 Chinese. Oh
Yes.
shoot!
I think it is, or 915 Chinese.
Yes, 915
Yes.
Chinese. Friday.
Is that the hangover one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is heavy carb, deliciousness.
It's good Chinese.
All you can eat buffets Friday afternoons. I'm there. Yeah.
Amazing.
And your favorite bar in the East End.
I have 3 kids, so I can't.
Okay. Bar is at your house.
That's right. The
bar.
my rear. We live in a ravine, so I drink beers and look at trees and stuff. So.
It's perfect.
It's the best bar there is.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Amazing. You killed it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for joining
Awesome.
us.
Super fun.